Scapa Flow has an awe-inspiring reputation for deep and challenging diving, but that's really not fair. Yeah, the wrecks probably are a bit deeper than most people dive most of the time, but the conditions here are as good as anything that you'll find anywhere in the UK. The flow itself sits off the north coast of Scotland. It's an 8 by 5 mile stretch of water, almost completely surrounded by the Orkney Islands and sheltered from the worst of the weather. One reason this place was chosen as the home of the British fleet in 2 world wars. Tides and currents don't really affect the centre of the flow, though the block shipwrecks do get some great tidal races, making for high energy dives, and visibility in the flow is generally good by UK standards at 6 to 10 metres. A plankton bloom can reduce that as the waters warm up from winter into spring and summer, and the best visibility is usually thought to be in the autumn, one reason I wanted to make my trip in October. But this is British diving, so the weather is never guaranteed.
There are plenty of wrecks in Scapa Flow, but the real reason divers go to Scapa are the wrecks of the 7 remaining ships of the German High Seas Fleet of World War I. And on my trip, I'm hoping to dive most or all of the German wrecks, some maybe more than once, and probably some other sites as well.
All the wrecks can be dived on a single cylinder of air. People have been doing that for years. All it means is the deeper the wreck, the shorter you dive. But after so much time and money to get to Scapa, details in my first Scapa video, there's a link in the description below, then I wanted to be able to spend as much time as possible on the wrecks.
I've actually been to Scapa a couple of times already, so I do have some idea of how to get the best from the diving. And this time I'm booked on a recreational trip for individuals, which will mean 2 dives a day and most likely a maximum dive time of an hour each. I've hired a 12 litre twin set, will use nitrox, and have a 7 litre stage for the deepest dives if I decide to use it. The shallowest of the German wrecks are the 4 light cruisers. Karlsruhe lies in 27 metres and Brummer, Koln and Dresden are in the mid-30s. So that's nitrox 36 for Karlsruhe and nitrox 30 for the others. All 4 cruisers lie on their sides with their decks more or less vertical, and they're well over 100 metres long, so there's plenty to see without actually spending the whole dive on the seabed. All the cruiser dives actually follow a very similar profile. Koln sits on her starboard side in 33 to 36 metres of water with around 20 metres of water over her upper side, and the dive started with a 3-minute descent to 33 metres, then 11 minutes at 33 metres, before coming gradually shallower as I explored the wreck over the next 25 minutes or so, before ascending for a stop at 6 and then a final ascent to the surface just short of the hour. From that profile then, I can also roughly check gas required, which gives me a total of just under 3,500 litres, so the 4,800 litres in my twin set will be more than enough for Koln or any of the other cruisers. The battleships are bigger, deeper, and they all came to rest more or less upside down, and that means a dive profile that keeps you deeper for longer, though you still don't need to spend all the dive at seabed level. The 3 battleships all need different nitrox mixers. Kronprinz Wilhelm lies in 36 metres, nitrox 30. König is in 38 metres, nitrox 28. And Markgraf at 45, nitrox 26. Profiles can be different between the 3 battleships depending on what you want to see, but here's a dive from Kronprinz Wilhelm. She sits upside down, but with her port side raised above the seabed, and by swimming under her after decks it's possible to see her main guns, so that's what I did at 36 metres. Coming up from the seabed and moving forward a bit, her secondary casemate guns are a bit shallower, and then there's more to see as you move on, with glimpses of the internal structures of the ship. What was originally the bottom of the hull is now covered by around 12 to 15 metres of water, but it's blank steel plate and so vast you could mistake it for the seabed if it wasn't so shallow. Again, using the profile, a quick check confirms there's more than enough gas in a twin set for Kronprinz Wilhelm. But deco times are starting to edge up a little. So I'll think about using that 7 litre stage with nitrox 50 for the stops from the battleships. The difference it makes isn't actually huge on Kronprinz Wilhelm, but it is more significant on the deeper Koenig and Markgraf. And the real benefit of shortening the deco is that it actually gives me a little bit more time on the wreck for the same overall runtime.
All of which means I'm happy I can do the dives I want to do, and with a decent safety margin if the unexpected happens. One final thought then, is it worth taking a rebreather? Well, at Scapa depths, the dive profile for a closed circuit dive and an open circuit dive will be remarkably similar, and actually so are the costs. Yep, on the deeper wrecks, the battleships in particular, some helium would be useful, and that's much more doable in a rebreather, but then I'd need to spend a lot more time on the rebreather in between dives. They do need a bit more TLC. In the end though, I've decided I'm travelling up by public transport, so what I'm going to do is hire and go with open circuit. If I were driving up, I may well have taken the rebreather.
So that's it for dive plans. Next time then, why Scapa is important to me, and the story of Albert, the Kaiser and the Führer.